Hi again, everybody. This is Dale now, Mr. Rock and Roll, with another edition of Rock Talk. Today I have a local legend, and here he is. You all know him. He's been awarded the Grammy for Best Country Single 15 times. He has 23 gold and 15 platinum albums. He's also the first act that played at the Save Mart Center, and he's open for every Clovis rodeo since 1991. He's also recognized as the world's greatest country and blues harmonica player. His harmonica has been featured in songs by Elton John, Billy Joel, the Eagles, Lou Rowan, and many, many others. He is the president of the KAIL Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to preserving the bike path from Clovis Avenue to Willow along the old railroad tracks. He also sang the national anthem at the beginning of every Super Bowl, World Series, WrestleMania, and Daytona 500 since 2000. And he is the host of next year's Oscar telecast. This is all completely made up in your head, isn't it, Kevin?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. You ask me what I'm picking?
What are you picking?
I don't know, I'll play guitar. Supervisors, this album. She was busy.
I'm completely into your style of music, but you have to explain it to our audience here on Rock Talk.
Would you talk that way to Chet Atkins?
I would. He's a legend.
Yes, man, I'm out of here.
Thank you. I'm Dale, Mr. Rock and Roll, and thank you for another short edition of Rock Talk with the legendary Kevin Harris.
After high school, I went to work at the world-famous Belmont Car Wash, corner of Belmont and Clovis, Fresno, California. Let me tell you something. You got a kid that doesn't want to go to college right after high school, put him to work at the Belmont Car Wash. He'll want an education. Work wasn't too bad. Other employees were okay. It's kind of hot in 110-degree summers, you know? Like I said, the employees were fine, but the customers, some of the customers, could just make your life hell. We had this one guy. We called him the old Amish dude. We called him that because he had an Amish beard, you know, a white beard with no mustache, and he had this big old straw hat on. And every Saturday he'd come in and he'd do the same thing. First of all, he'd be driving in with a big old Lincoln Continental like his, going like that, this. I don't know what the hell he was doing, but he was doing that. And then you'd walk up to greet him as he got out of his car, a move that was completely unnecessary at the drive-thru car wash. And you'd walk up to him, and it'd be the same thing every Saturday. Welcome to Belmont Car Wash. Hey, good looking! You know how I know you're good looking, don't you? Takes one to know one. You get that, don't you? Every Saturday. Takes one to know one. You get that, don't you? Same thing. You know the difference between Western boots and cowboy boots? Western boots have shit on the outside, cowboy boots have shit on the inside. You get that, don't you? Hey, you want to see my sex rock? What is that? Just a fucking rock. You get that, don't you? No! Don't get that! And then he'd sing to us while we were scrubbing his tires. White walls, scrub them goddamn white walls. Would you stop that, really? Customers made my life hell, but the other employees made it entertaining. We had one guy. Walked up to me one day. I had him, this guy was his first day on the job. I'd never seen him before, didn't know him, had never said 2 words to him. He walks up to me at like we're in the middle of a conversation. My brother called me and asked me for $50 to take his kids to the fair. And I told him, you should have thought about that before you spent all your money on them snakes. We had another guy there. His name was Terry Luke. Terry had been to prison, and he'd been there for drug charges. The drugs had fried his mind, but he was clean now with the Lord's help. And in prison, he learned to play harmonica. And he used to favor us with a song now and then. that would go like this. Chicken train! Chicken train, running all day, can't get on, can't get off. Chicken train like a sawdust dream, take my dream, laser beam, take my dream, can't get on, can't get off. Chicken train like a sawdust dream. He gave me a harmonica, and I figured out that it wasn't that hard to play the harmonica, because as long as you're using a harmonica that's in the key that the band is in, you can pretty much play along with anything. Now, in my mind, though, the way my mind works, immediately, I was a superstar. Not only was I the world's greatest harmonica player, I was the world's greatest singer, country music singer. And I had the greatest duet partner, Susie Bacchus. You remember Susie? No, you don't remember Susie. It's all right. She wasn't that big a star, but she had a voice like clear water, and I loved it. Now, at this point, I had moved on. I was no longer over at the car wash for $4.25 an hour. I was over at Surge's 7-Eleven making $5 an hour. Graveyard shift, 10 to 7 every night. And I had no company between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. I had no company and nobody to talk to, but I had that boombox, and it had a cassette player, and in that cassette player was Susie Bacchus's Aces album. And every night, I'd listen to that whole album. And I'd sing along with half of every song, because it was a duet now, you know. I'd sing my half, she'd sing her half. And next thing you know, I'm doing whole concerts between 2 and 5. Had the whole set list planned out. I even did the little, you know, the little ad-libs they did between songs. Hey Susie, remember when we wrote this one? I sure do, Kev, let's do it. It was on one of those nights when real life came in and took a big dump on my fantasy. I was back in the back, cleaning the cheese pump out. You did it every night. Singing a Susie song. Now you're ready to walk out. You're ready to run. Talk to me. Can't you see the doorbell ring out front? What I never want to do, what it seems I've done. So I walked around to see who was out there. Can't deal me this. And I got a shotgun right here. Knew who it was, too. A regular. I refused to sell him beer a couple hours before. Sold him beer 100 times, but tonight he didn't have his ID, and I felt like being an asshole, so. Took me in the back. He laid me on the floor. Put the gun right here. I had a lot of cops come through the store, and they tell me stories that they would take you in the back and put the gun like that, kiss it goodbye. And that's what I was doing. I was kissing it goodbye. And all of a sudden I realized that the Jesse James gang out there couldn't get the cash register open without me. And they figured it out too. So they pulled me out front to open the register. Funny thing, I noticed that there was 4, and only one of them had a gun. But this other guy, he had the worst robber disguise I've ever seen. It looked like somebody took in a pair of jockey shorts and cut eye holes. And he just had like a thin strip of fabric over his nose, and he was faking that he had a gun. Really, in real life, he was doing this thing. Get the money, give us the money. They started grabbing everything. They were grabbing lottery tickets, the little sugar-free candy that Serge used to give to the kids. He'd walk up to these kids, "Here, little girl, would you like some candy? It's sugar-free." Scared the hell out of these kids. Anyway, these guys took all that stuff and ran off, and the whole time Susie was over there on the CD player, cassette player in those days, playing her songs. I met her once. She played the fair in '93. I waited around backstage all day till I got a chance to meet her. And that night she sang all of her hits. So did I, from the 3rd row. Had a lot of long nights in the 70s, the 7-Eleven. One night I was reading the WWF magazine.